All right, I am back from my weekend's worth of a trip, which means that for the first time in 3 days, I'm actually sitting behind the microphone and speaking about hockey. Yes, let's go, baby. It's kind of weird. I have to get back into the groove, I talk for a living, so not being able to do that is kind of odd. But today what I wanted to do is go over to an article published on HabsFanatics.com that cites an interview done with Eric Engels of Sportsnet. Because this article, which will be linked in the description below, goes over a comment made by Eric Engels on the recent edition of the Sick podcast with Tony Marinaro. This, of course, is in the article, so if you want to listen to it, it's all right there. I'm expecting something. Eric Engels joins Tony Marinaro in the Sick podcast to discuss the Habs potentially moving up or even moving down in this year's NHL Draft. But the quote we want to go over is highlighted in this article. Again, it's easier for me to screenshot, put it on the screen. Let's go out there and read. Our topic revolves around the 2023 NHL Entry Draft and a selection where the Montreal Canadiens very infamously went against the grain. Number 5. The Habs selected David Reinbacher over Matvei Michkov, and this was a really big deal because Habs fans wanted Michkov ever since the 5th overall pick was awarded to Montreal, especially since Will Smith went 4th overall to the San Jose Sharks. A lot of Canadiens fans were like, okay, that's great. The opportunity to take Michkov is there. The second most talented guy in some people's eyes. The player that for years was rivaling Connor Bedard in terms of offensive productivity, and this could be a 2023 draft headlining class matchup for decades. So, when the Canadiens selected Reinbacher, it was a really big deal. You saw the video of fans on Twitter freaking the F out in their Twitter spaces, I think that's what it was called, yeah, where people were yelling and screaming and calling Kent Hughes a bald F, and it was a really weird time to be a Canadiens fan. And the shrapnel, the outcome, the backlash of taking David Reinbacher over Michkov was huge. Reinbacher received literal bullying on his Instagram profile, which we'll always condemn till the end of time, but the fact is it happened, and it kind of goes to show you how exactly Canadiens fans felt about it. Now, if you take a look at the Philadelphia Flyers fans, on the other hand, they're really happy about this. Matvei Michkov slipped to them. They love this guy. He's probably going to play for them next season. But let's go out there and read what this article on HabsFanatic.com goes out there and says in regards to that moment at the draft. The quote is labeled out right here. I know that many teams were interested in the 5th overall pick that the Canadiens held last year. In fact, a number of teams wanted to acquire that pick to select David Reinbacher. This also includes the team Philadelphia Flyers, from what I could gather and speaking with several sources in the league afterwards, which ended up choosing Matvei Michkov, was one of the teams that was really interested in getting Reinbacher. And with this in mind, you take these two pieces of information from Eric Engels on the Sick podcast and you put them together, you get yourselves a narrative that says that the Philadelphia Flyers, if they were given the choice, they would have taken David Reinbacher over Michkov, too. They may have wanted to even trade for the pick that was used to acquire David Reinbacher, presumably for that 7th overall pick that was used to select Michkov. The Montreal Canadiens could have, by proxy, maybe you could say, they might have turned down a David Reinbacher for Matvei Michkov trade in some sort of a weird, twisted, alternate version of reality that you want to say could have existed if this was a thing. Montreal had their guy. He was 5th overall. A lot of people freaked out when they took him 5th because if you go back to David Reinbacher and his 2023 draft projection, it wasn't around number 5. There were some outlets that had him there, but for the most part, his rough ranking averaged out was like 11, 12. Button had him at 20, McKean's had him at 16, the highest ranking was TSN and Bob McKenzie at 8. So the fact that he went 5th and there were apparently other teams that wanted to take him at 5th and trade up to get that Kent Hughes 5th overall selection, that is wild. And when you think about Philadelphia potentially wanting to do that too, you start saying to yourself, okay, maybe there was a little bit more than meets the eye when it comes to David Reinbacher than just his his draft projection, where these guys and the media think he's going to go, because if multiple teams wanted him at 5 and the Canadiens got him at 5, then maybe there's a lot more value there. Who really knows? When you start thinking about it, though, with the aspects of what other assets were involved, it becomes a lot more difficult, I feel, for Montreal Canadiens fans to fully internalize that. Hey, if you were given the chance, Matvei Michkov and let's say a 3rd-round pick for David Reinbacher, would you do that? Because if you take away the ambiguity of the draft picks at the 2023 draft, that's essentially what the Flyers might have been able to do, right? You trade from 7 to 5, you take Reinbacher, and the price to move up 2 spots is maybe a 3rd or a 4th or something. If you are Kent Hughes today, do you make this trade? I know if it was Kent Hughes a year ago, every Canadiens fan on the planet would say yes. I don't honestly know any Canadiens fans from 2023 last year that were saying they wanted Reinbacher at 5th overall over Matvei Michkov. Like, I think just based off of the social media, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram comments, and Facebook, everybody was saying, yeah, we gotta get that Russian dude. If it's not that Russian dude, we'll take whoever falls between Will Smith, Carlsson, or Fantilli. It's not gonna be the latter two, but whoever is there, right? Michkov should be the guy. So 1 year ago, Canadiens fans would have definitely made like, yeah, that's a trade. We're doing that. If we trade away Reinbacher and we get Michkov in a 5th or something, okay, great. We get the guy we want and we get an extra asset. But 1 year later, right now, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below with this idea being put out there into existence by Eric Engels that the Flyers wanted to move up to 5 to take Reinbacher, presumably with the pick that was used to select Michkov. If you were given that option today, would you trade Reinbacher away for Michkov and some sort of another asset? For me personally, yeah, I do it. As much as I have come to appreciate David Reinbacher and his development and cheer this guy on, I can understand that Canadiens fans are in the same boat as me. I like David Reinbacher more now than I did a year ago. And I was one of the guys that was kind of high on the pick. Like, sure, I kind of freaked out and said, okay, it's not Matvei Michkov, but still, I was like, you know what? If this guy projects to be like Sider was a 6th overall pick and he was fantastic. Big steal, big reach in the minds of many people watching the draft at that time frame, but he was good. Now, if Reinbacher does similar things, we will all be okay. And that was the main idea that I was bringing into that draft reaction video. You could check it out. But if you wanted to make this trade happen today, and the option was still there on the table, is it done? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, because I know Canadiens fans all over love this guy now, Reinbacher that is. Would you do this trade, though, if given the opportunity one more time? Michkov playing with Slafkovsky, Caulfield, Suzuki, Matheson, and whomever else in a power play. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? You want to have that top 6? Oh yeah, okay. Slafkovsky, Caulfield, Suzuki, and then you have Doc, Newhook, and Michkov. If Michkov comes over to Montreal, where he is all of a sudden beloved and revered as one of the top prospects the team has had in years, since Jesperi Kotkaniemi pretty much, that's the spotlight he wants, right? He will get it in Philly, but with Montreal, maybe he'll get it more. And if there was the case where he just straight up told Montreal that he didn't want to be drafted by them at the draft, then okay, the Canadiens can take him anyway. Who really knows? If they start to catch his bluff that, hey, no, you're going to be fine. You can come over to the NHL soon. You'll be a top prospect either way. If they catch on to his bluff that we had talked about a few videos ago, then maybe things change. But let me know your thoughts in the comments section below about the Montreal Canadiens and the idea of a Reinbacher for Michkov trade. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.